Ooh, that looks tasty.
Welcome folks to The Hungry Gamer is back with another mini preview, and today we're talking about An Age Contrived, Folklore and Pilgrimage, designed by Chris Matthew of Bellows Intent. And this is an expansion to the relatively recently delivered An Age Contrived, which is a game that I covered for the Kickstarter campaign before it, well, delivered. And this is a game that, if you want to know how to play the core game, you can go back and check out my preview. I'll probably have some of the footage kind of going up here so you can kind of see what's going on. But at its core, this is a tableau building-ish action selection style game. What I mean by that is you are going to be constantly changing your tableau by pushing these tiles onto the side of your board, which is going to push off another tile, and as new tiles come on, you're going to fill them with these energy tokens, which are these little plastic, look like starburst tokens, and you're going to be using those to then activate the tableau. And at the bottom of the tableau, it's going to allow you to activate whatever the ability is for that specific column, which is constantly changing because the tokens move along with it as you push in new tiles. And they're going to let you buy new tiles, they're going to let you move your god's avatar around the board, but mostly what they're going to do is they're going to allow you to launch these energy tokens off the top part of the tiles out onto the board. And if you have the deluxe version, it has this ridiculous little launcher thing that you see right now, which I love and is totally unnecessary. It makes the box very heavy, but I also really kind of love it. But you're going to send them out onto the board to do several things. You're sending them out on the board to be able to buy more tiles, as I mentioned, but mostly you're sending them out on the board to build these monuments. You send the energy out to a space on the board where it has these monuments, and when you get two or three of them out there, that piece gets built. And then whoever put the last piece, yes, whoever gets their last does get a bonus, is going to get to lock in one of their energy tiles on the board, which means they don't have it anymore, but it's going to go towards scoring in the endgame. Then the magnetic piece gets stuck up onto the board and it's going to be there, and eventually you'll get 4 pieces of the monument built and you'll have something. You'll have this giant tree, you'll have a Viking ship, whatever. Very cool, all 3D, it's going to be there. And then everyone's going to get a benefit from that spot. It might be new energy, it might be a new tile, it might be a new action, whatever. Then depending on which energy tokens you put out on the board, you'll get to do something different. So one of them just will move to somewhere else on the board that has the same symbol. Another is going to allow you to move your god, and another one's going to come back and go back into your tableau where you have your different tiles and your energy tokens are ready to go. And then every different god has a different wild tile, which can be any of them, but also has some kind of special ability that you're going to unlock through the game. It might be something that allows you to bring energy right back into the thing. It might be something that allows you to activate any of the tiles if you use one of those wild energies as your bottom one. It might be one that allows you to teleport around the board as your god. All different kinds of things depending on, again, which character you are playing. And you're playing through the game until all the monuments are built, and then you're going to score based on a whole bunch of different things. Now, that is the broad overview of the original game. Folklore and Pilgrimage adds 2 expansions to it. One of them is it adds a deck of cards that each god's going to have, and as you move around, you have the ability, you have to do a little work to make it happen, but you have the ability to drop a relic down. When you drop a relic, you get to play a card. And that card's going to have 3 different things on there. You're going to get to pick one. But as the game goes along, as other gods move around, if another god goes and drops their relic in the same place you've dropped yours, they get to do 2 things off of their card, and then you get to do another one off of the card that you've already played, or one of the cards you've already played. And so it just makes the moving around the board a little more interesting with potentially some really big bonuses if you play your cards right. See what I did there? And then there's the Pilgrimage. This is the bigger expansion. It adds a board extender, which is a track that you're kind of moving up along to get to the top. The further you get, the more points you're going to get for that. And as you're going, there's more little magnet buildings that you're going to be able to build, which are little shrines, and each shrine has a different ability connected with it. You go there, you're going to get something, but of course, by going to the shrines, you're slowing down your path up, getting more points. And that's the core of what the expansion is going to add. So what do I like about this expansion? And for the most part, I'm only going to talk about stuff that is new to the expansion. I'll mention a few things probably from my initial preview of things that are things I think you should think about, but overall, this is just going to be about the expansion. So the first thing is the look of it is beautiful. It's just a beautiful, beautiful game, and those 3D buildings and the magnets are just awesome. They are so fun to play with, and the board just looks so good at the end of the game. It's just stunning. I love, love, love the way it looks. The production value is great across the board. Again, see what I did there? And I just have no complaints about it. Next thing that I like about it is you regularly get what feel like huge turns. You might take one turn where you're sliding in a new tile, but as you go through the game, you can upgrade your tableau to even when you're sliding in a tile, you're getting to do things. But regularly, you feel like, okay, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, and I'm shooting these tiles out all over the place, and that's going to make this monument be built, and then we're all going to get a benefit from that, and I'm going to build this thing, I'm going to move this here, I'm going to shoot out another one, I'm going to put it on a scoring condition that I've unlocked. It's regular that you feel like you are doing a ton of awesome stuff. The next thing I'm going to say is I really like the Pilgrimage expansion. I love that track that you're going up, and I love that you have this choice of how are you going to build these shrines. Okay, you've activated, you're going to build a shrine. Where are you going to put it? Are you going to put it close to where you can activate this? Are you going to put it just somewhere that's way down the path because you feel like you're going to get there first and the other players can't get it? Or maybe they're ahead of you, so you're like, you know what, I'm going to put this thing that would really help them behind them so they can't go back and get it. Very, very clever the way it works. And I really, really like that. Talking about the folklore, I like that too. And on its surface, I like the folklore better than the pilgrimage, but in practice, not quite as much. I really like the idea of now movement is more interesting, and you're dropping these relics out and you're doing something cool. If someone else comes there and does it there too, you're going to get a bonus. And I'm going to talk more about it in my quibbles, but I really like the idea of it, and when you make it work right, it is amazing. It has potential to just break open the game with how those cards work, and I really enjoy that, and I love the idea behind it. But again, I'll talk about the quibbles a little bit later, but I really do enjoy that. But more importantly, I think both of these expansions are relatively low impact. If you know how to play the game, it's going to take you 4 minutes to figure out how this other thing works. It's just not hard to learn. It's not hard to add it into the game. So I always really like that. I think the new characters, the 2 new gods, are unique. They're interesting. They look real cool. And I like the way they play. I like how they're doing things that are different than the others. That's always a benefit. And last thing I'll mention is there's these new doubling tiles that you can get. And when you get these, you just take them, you put them out on the board, and it just makes one of your tiles that's already out there that you're using as a scoring condition, it just doubles it. These are amazing. These add such an awesome amount of strategy to the game because now you're thinking, okay, gosh, is it even worth it competing for that monument? Oh, well, now I can get one out there. I can get one out there, and then I can also pop right over here and run up the pilgrimage track, go to a shrine, get one of these. And these are so good. I love what these do for the game. So what are my quibbles with the game? The first thing is this makes a big game bigger. So I have the small game topper in my game room back here. And just tonight, I played with Original Don 2-player. It was tight. We were not able to kind of build the little catchers that are supposed to go around the tile shooters because there wasn't enough space. It's massive. There's no way we could have played 3-player back here. So it's going to take up a lot of space. I will say if you are a solo or playing 2-player, then if you have a small game table, you're going to be able to play no problem. If you just have a card table, you can probably play solo. It's going to be tight. So just keep that in mind. It's a very, very big game. The next thing I'm going to say is I think the expansion brings the theme forward a little bit more. You have this kind of pilgrimage of people taking pilgrimages in your name and your avatars kind of going around and doing some kind of magic, but it's still light. This is still a mechanic-forward game rather than a theme-forward game, though it does look friggin' beautiful. First thing I'll say is the iconography is a little tough to learn. It does make sense, but for me and also Original Dawn, we were decently regularly having to look things up, and so while it is consistent and it is very well labeled in the player aids and in the rulebook, it is a little bit challenging to pick up because there is a lot of iconography that you're going to have to learn, you're going to have to figure out, and you're going to have to internalize, well, I sent out my rose energy, well, that's going to come back, and when it comes back, I'm going to get to move, or I sent out the magnet one, that's going to go out and come back, go back into my shooter, those kinds of things. There's just a lot to learn, and it's a lot of iconography. And the last two things, one, I still, and this is from the core game, and it exists just the same with the expansion, I have a hard time getting the metal frames in that you need to make the pieces stand up on the board. I mean, I can do it. You flip it, if you lift it up, you can put them in easily, but then to get it back down without them falling out, I don't know. I guess I'm a goober and I can't figure it out, but I have a harder time than I should doing that. Last thing I want to say is, I think the sweet spot for this game is 3. It plays 1 to 5. But when you're under 3 players, there's only 3 monuments that you're working with. And you have all this board that you're just ignoring. And it just feels like a shame that you're doing that. So 3 for me is the sweet spot there. And that's also because, as I mentioned at the beginning, you can have some of these really big turns, but that means a downtime when you have more than 3 can start to stretch on. It's not a horrific amount of downtime, but I think 3 is where it is at. You have a lot of things you can do, a lot of areas you can go to, and the downtime is not terrible. Though, as mentioned, there is a solo mode that you can use, and I do think it plays well at 2. You just are a little bit limited on space. And the last thing I'll mention, as I mentioned earlier, the folklore part of the expansion, which again, I really like, it just can be a little bit challenging to play those cards because you have to prime the relics, which means you have to use your god token, you flip it over, and that usually can do something else. And that's not a problem, but then you have to re-earn it to put it out there. And you put it out there and you're usually going to do kind of just one thing. And unless other players are also using their cards and doing their folklore, then it's kind of just yeah, it was a minor little benefit here and there. Now, again, as I said, I'm going to repeat this again for like the 15th time. I really like it. I just wish it was a little easier to do it. I don't know, maybe there was more options in each card and you got to do 2 things every time, right? And you'd be like, I don't know. Or maybe every time you walked back around to your relic, you could activate one again, or just something like that, because the idea is so cool. And it's just not the easiest thing to necessarily make work. So to make it valuable, you really have to be very, very clever with how you use it and how you use those resources. But there you have it, folks. That is An Age Contrived, Folklore and Pilgrimage. I think it's a really good expansion. If you're someone that did not like this game, it's not going to make you like it. But if you're someone that enjoyed this game, or even like, that was fun, I think it adds to it in meaningful ways that's not hard to add, and it's a win-win. I think it's a very good expansion. So there you have it, folks. As always, if you found this video useful, please like, subscribe, share, maybe become a channel member. As always, thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.